Good morning. Today is March 12th, 2024, Tuesday. And today we'll continue with the Tanya. It's our lesson number, I think, 37, if I'm not mistaken. That's recording. Recording's now at 37. And we're going through a lesson now 24, getting to lesson 25. And let's summarize what we've been talking for some 37 recordings from the beginning of Tanya. It's quite interesting. What we came to discuss is that, so the person has a soul. Basically, Tanya described it like two portions of that: the animalistic soul and the divine soul. The roots of the divine soul is in the brain, and the roots of the animalistic soul in the left side of the heart. And the soul, divine soul, migrates to, has like a residence in the right side of the heart. And between the right side of the heart and the left side of the heart, there's a struggle between good and evil. Of course, the animal soul is not necessarily bad soul. It's a soul that is selfish. It is designed for you, for me, to have obtained things from this world, like walking, like functioning, like driving the car, like making surgery if somebody is a surgeon, like helping other people by bringing the food to their house. That is a good thing. The animal soul in us exists. But it's more noble goals, noble aspirations are accomplished by the divine soul. Interaction between the two cause sometimes the conflict. We're talking about several types, 5 types of personalities: complete tzaddik, incomplete tzaddik, the Benoni, in-betweener, then the Rasha, the bad person, and very bad person, Rasha. And basically, the majority of the personality, majority of people belong to the Benoni category. And within Benoni category, there's also some extremes to one side onto another side. Then the Tanya described, gradually evolved the lessons of the Tanya to the fact that the soul has a divine soul is surrounded by the animal soul, and the souls themselves, each one, have dressings, garments. The soul has a garment called a klipa. A klipa has a garment, the soul. And the garments are thought, speech, and action. And those thought, speech, and action are fanned by the energy of a klipa noga. Klipa noga, that's a Tanya, Zohar, Kabbalistic metaphor for the energy what sustains your thought, speech, and action. Why do we think, say, and do certain things? And that klipa noga is unbalanced. It can go up or it can go down. It can go towards the good or it can go towards the bad. If it goes towards the good, the animalistic soul, it doesn't mean it will be sitting on a mountain and studying Torah all day long. Its job is to provide food for you, like, let's say, cooking. You're doing the cooking. That's done not by the divine soul, but driven. The engine is the animalistic soul. But if somebody begins to steal, if you see the person walking in front of you drop $20 bill, and you pick it up and put it in your pocket, animalistic soul wants this money, but it can get this money by getting the job and working honestly, or picking up these $20 bills and not to tell the person that he or she lost this $20. So animalistic soul can go either way. And in this example, if you pick up this $20 and your neighbor dropped, let's say you know who dropped it, and then a day later you regret, you feel bad about it, so you go ahead and return the money. Then what is in possession of the klipa noga can turn to the good. The neighbor said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Well, thank you so much." I say, "I'm sorry. I picked it up. It came upon me. I didn't see you on time." Whatever the reason you come, maybe good reason or bad reason, but you return this money, and it turns. So you fix things. So your divine soul, your animalistic soul, the klipa noga energy of that has ability, even after you have sinned and did something wrong, to turn into the good. Okay, so once again, good and bad. In any religion, not only in Judaism, there's always struggle between good and bad. And how do we choose good versus bad is a whole philosophical question for thousands of years. Not only Jews, but Plato, Aristotle, Confucius, Hindus, Muslims, Jews, Christians, you name religion, everybody, all humanity struggle between, is it right, is it not right? The Tanya going through the anatomy of dissecting of that. And we discussed it before in our previous recordings. What actually makes a person decide? So if you have two souls, well, Tanya explains, when the tzaddik, complete tzaddik, has taken mastery, there's two types of tzaddikim. Some develop this mastery, but some, very few, Tanya says, actually were implanted by God, by Hashem, on earth, in order to provide that crystals of the formation of the good. Even if humanity totally sins, but some sparks of goodness still remain, and for that purpose, God retained tzaddikim. There's some in Australia, and some in America, and one in Russia, and in Israel, in Sweden, you name it, they're all over. Sometimes they're hidden, you don't see it. But they groups of them bring light and salvation to the world when the world has apparently no hope. Okay, but that's a minority, very few people. You probably can't count it on two hands how many people like that. But the majority of people are good, but have some streaks, and some once in a while I argue with my wife or not nice to my neighbor. Nothing major, but it's not a good thing. So we all struggle with a situation how to control our animalistic soul. It's there. It's not turned into the good portion. It didn't become the surgeon just to serve people, patients, as a doctor, using your animal soul for the good. It still has occasionally things for the good, occasionally things for the bad. But let me correct myself. Benoni actually can turn the soul. It has these impulses to do bad, but it turned it or tamed it to become, to not to do bad things. It's there, wants to do bad things, but it's control. The impulse is from the left side of the heart, where it resides, rise to the brain, and the brain suppresses it and keeps it under control. On the surface, you cannot tell that the person is bad. He looks and acts very good, but internally he has some work to do, he has some struggle. So, again, let's summarize it. So we have thought, speech, and action, which are manifestations of the energy by the klipa. And in the divine soul, there's also garments. And these garments are garments of the Torah, garments of Torah, or any other religious book. Well, Tanya talks about Torah, but Hindus probably can relate to whatever holy books they use. Muslims probably can refer to Quran and find in the Quran the goodness the Quran teaches, and not interpret things into the negative energy, which might be violent or unpleasant. Same thing goes to the Jews. Same thing goes to the Christians. All religions, essentially, when you think about it, evolved over the centuries, millenniums, from rather intolerant position. I think Judaism, Christianity evolved. The northern and southern kingdom of Israel was in conflict for some time, in a very long past. Christians had crusades. They went through Europe and massacred people in mass if you don't submit to the doctrine of Christianity. But that was, 1100, 1200, 1,000 years ago. Now it's a peaceful religion. Basically doesn't go around and harassing people, and doesn't do forceful conversions. Christianity still is a proselytizing religion. You still feel that's the right way to understand God, but it's not violently tell you if you don't convert to Christianity, you're a bad person. So all religions, Islam currently also apparently is undergoing the process of reformation to become. So religion is only what you interpret it to become. Ultimately, back to Tanya, the two souls with the garments, the animal souls and divine souls surrounded in the garments, thought, speech, and actions, have the upper layer yet, who we talked before, which we call the pre-thought, the deep root of the soul. And that portion in the brain, when an animal soul reaches to it to say, I want to do something bad, I don't want to return this $20 bill to the person, the brain immediately, for Benoni, suppresses. For the tzaddik, that left heart is already transformed. It doesn't have these impulses to come up and try to negotiate with the brain what to do. But for Benoni, it does come in, the brain says, no, return the money right now, don't even pick it up, it's not yours, give it to the person, hey, sir, you dropped $20, pick it up, okay, thank you. Or $1 million for that matter. So that is a brain. But the Tanya says, but not every person has ability of the brain to act this way. The brain sometimes also can be screwed up and not sure why. And the Tanya says, that's what we learn in chapter 14, that the Benoni did not become a tzaddik on his own. He required a little someone else's soul to do the job. As for the own soul was concerned, he did not have the capacity of becoming tzaddik, as Job had taught us. Notes on Tanya. So the question, philosophical question now comes in. Rambam asks these questions. Many other thinkers, philosophers of Judaism, non-Judaism, question. So how come this person has ability for his brain, for his clarity of divine soul to suppress the impulses of the animalistic soul, selfishness? And for this person, it doesn't have that. How he made the decision? So when God gave us a free choice, when we make a decision, why this person makes a decision go to the right and this one makes it to the left? Well, Tanya evolves to explain, although it doesn't seem to be explicitly explaining that process, but it lays the ground to understand that that is something that was formed in us by circumstances in our upbringing, how we were brought up by our parents, by the society. Adam and Eve, we spoke this before in other recordings, did not have actually sinful inclinations. You can say, how come they ate an apple? We talked about this before. Well, they didn't know any evil. They didn't see evil around them. Therefore, when for them to do something, God told me not to eat the apple, not to eat the fruit, and I will eat it anyway, I know it's not right. Oh, how did Eve know that it is not right? She didn't have any examples of what's not right. To her, everything was paradise. So that's a big philosophical question, what made her eat an apple, and we came to a conclusion. I presented to you that perhaps God meant for Eve to eat the apple. She didn't know herself was bad. The impulse in her was not brought by the animal soul in her. Animal soul in her heart didn't overtake the brain, the divine soul, because the strengths of the animal soul in her could not have empowered that. Her animal soul did not have capacity at that time yet to have experience of the evil. So if it didn't have this capacity to overtake the good by nature stronger than the bad, assisted by God, could not have won. That means that God meant for us to have undergone His experience of earth, of real world, not just become angels, and working through the earthly experiences, eventually with ability of freedom of choice, to come to a realization on their own, so to speak, to become godly again, to become society of humans, of earthly creatures, but doing good and knowing experience of the bad in us, in humanity, which we no longer support because we understand how horrible that is. With knowing they don't want to do it, that would make God complete. So God gave us these experiences in order to exhaust all powers that He has for the good, for the bad. He created good, He created bad, put them in conflict, and give us the ability to decide which way to go. And when we, over time, over periods of times, over years in history, choose not to take the good side, that is because the past experiences. Listen, if somebody is growing up in a family of bank robbers, he most likely will become bank robber too. There are exceptions. The person leaves this trait and becomes a humanity teacher, but generally the past haunts us. Torah says you're the third and the fourth generation, they're affected. The children are not responsible for the parents, but the experience of the parents gets implanted in children. But God also says in the Torah, but I give you salvation for 1,000 generations. So once you are assisted by the good, that will last a long time. Now the question now we have to come to answer, and then from then on we'll start talking about dynamics of the Tanya per se. Now we're kind of doing a summary of what we have learned in 24 chapters out of 53 so far. That is why in the earth today we have this diversity of people with different levels of goodness and badness, so to speak. And those of you, those of us, who understand this concept, they will become someone else's soul. So when you have a society, what you and I are doing right now, hopefully brings a positive energy, the waves into the world, into the universe, to assist the sublime pre-thought process to waking up that hidden, dormant energy of roots of soul, the pre-thought, as we talked about, in order to assist us to make a transformation to the good and abandon the bad. So this is a crutch in the society, tzaddikim, and those who understand that, and those who help others, without pushing them to convert to a particular religion, to become a Muslim or Christian or a Jew or a Hindu. Become that, and then you really will be a good person. It's good for you. No, the thing is to find. So when I saw the movie of Kung Fu, remember David Caradin? Those of you who might have seen it, where his teacher, in a time of distress, he thinks about his childhood when he tells the teacher, "How do I overcome the impulse to fear? How do you become the good person?" And the teacher tells him, Grasshopper. He calls David Caradin Grasshopper. Grasshopper, look inside yourself and find, and let your inner thing to find the outer thing. Something to that. At that time, it didn't register with me. And it's almost, I had an impression personally that in Hinduism, there was a Chinese monks. I'm not sure where they were, in which province of China. Was it in Burma? Was it in Tibet? Was it in somewhere? I want to look up on Google and find out where exactly those monks live. Interesting. If you know, let me know. Send me the message, reply to this video, where exactly geographically, in which century year it happened. Probably the TV fans, movie fans will know that. But basically at that time I was thinking, well, the Hindu religion or Confucianism, whatever that monk's religion was, Kung Fu religion, felt that everything is your inner self. Your goodness is inside of you. If you reach inside of you, you become powerful in terms of you become good. And now, in terms of that clip, I realized that he talks, align your inner thing with the outer thing. What he was telling me that in this movie, essentially, Chinese Buddhist monks, maybe they're Buddhists, okay, but they're not Indians, they were in China. So maybe what you were saying, let your animalistic soul to be controlled by this pre-thought process, the goodness that can overcome it. And then how will it do it? How do I know that my good soul, when the impulse from that rises from the heart to the brain, why would the brain be clear and not be overpowered by the bad impulse? Well, in that sense, this monk was external source. He was external help. His ability, his advice to the young grasshopper shifted the balance towards suppressing his bad impulses. And just like we, a society of people who understand this, preaching perhaps not a good word, but bringing example, giving assistance when the Tanya says that good and bad is always balanced in the person, always balanced, unless he's a tzaddik and he suppresses that bad. But for Benoni, it's balanced. So a little bit more, they have to tip the scales, has to come from the outside, because physics said you can't lift yourself by the hair. So some external effort can help. That external effort will come from you. So perhaps you make yourself a commitment. If you are a Jew, then think about your life and can say, what else I can add to this? Well, drastic changes usually not very helpful, but if you didn't light the candles for Shabbat, just do that, light the candles. Or if you never went to the synagogue, well, go to the synagogue. Or if you know that your neighbor lives there, but you don't really know what they're doing, maybe you knock on the door and ask them, hi, how are you? Anything I do to help? So do some steps to the goodness by learn a little Torah, do a mitzvah, help another person. Find out that in your life you need to do something for other people, not just for you, not just feed yourself, but help other people in a small ways. And then little by little, that will add up and it will create that clarity of your mind to overcome the bad. And that process of refinement will make it very clear that somebody drops a $20 bill, you don't pocket it, but you return it. Many of you do it, most of you do it already now, which is good. So do another step. Do a little more. Light the Shabbat candles. Attend the synagogue, not just to sit and pray to become the scholar, but to be in a group of people who think similar, who think likewise, who can share what we're talking about, not only by the YouTube recording, but personally. Perhaps your group will not be thousands of people, but just two, you and your neighbor. And then you go to synagogue, you create minyan, 10 people. The strength of 10 men people is very, very powerful. And you can discuss things like that with your rabbis, with your friends, with your neighbors. And then gradually, little by little, the world will become a better place. The times we live in clearly show that cracking and filtering is happening. That clarity of good and bad becomes more and more crystallized. We understand our history, we understand the conflict, we understand what really needs to happen, how much love we, humanity, have sent out into the world. Once we understand that, it will continue spreading, and then this love and tolerance and peace will prevail. Jews, observant religious Jews, call it Messianic times. Christians also call it Messianic times. So do Muslims. They believe ultimate reconciliation of all humanity. These groups, Jews, Muslims, Christians, Hindus, see the process happen differently. But overall, the process of maturity and then letting God decide the ultimate conflict, and your prayers to God, learning Torah, or learning whatever spiritual document you do, learn it from the purpose of do good to your neighbor. After you close the book in your morning prayers, whether you're Muslim, Jew, or Christian, or Hindu, when you close the book, when you walk outside the synagogue, mosque, church, temple, think about what good can I do to the next person I met, regardless what religion, color, or beliefs or political system he comes from. Is he to the extreme right or is he to the extreme left, in the middle? Don't ask this question. When you come out and you see the person who's having trouble starting his car, help him. If you see the person needs the right to work, help him. If you're a Jew and this guy is a Christian, help him. If you're a Muslim and this guy is Hindu, help him. Help each other. That is the action that God wants us to do. This is what the process of Tanya really brings to the world. I see many times, and sometimes in the movies, like in Dalai Lama, I guess it's in Tibet, teaches this tolerance and understanding. Mother Teresa, Christian, went to India, tried to help poor people. I don't think she did it for the purpose for them to become Christians. She did it because she wants to help other people. Many Muslim peoples who live in Israel in peace and harmony with the Jews. Not all, but many do. That's the people we have to take example from, by their action. By the action, not what they say, not how much they delineate the goodness of their beliefs and wrong of other beliefs, but find the good in yourself, find the good in others, and find this unity. That is the Tanya's process. Now we'll continue with chapter 25 next time, now that we have a summary of what we've learned in 24 chapters. I hope it comes clear. And now we're going to continue with the process, how to reach this point. How to reach this point. When you sit one day, when you sit this morning with a cup of coffee and think what you just heard, you say to yourself, well, it makes sense, but I never thought about it. Why should I think how to coexist with another person? I just have to go to work, and I have to come home and make money and buy food. Okay, that's nothing wrong with it. That's your animalistic, animal soul is for, to help you function, just function, but not function at the expense of the others, and not to become threat to others, even implied threat, but become good source of support and help to others. So with that, have a great day. We'll talk more. Any questions? Send a reply. I get replies quite often from people who watch these videos. We don't go to very, very deep esoteric dynamics, but we do get cut into the essence of what makes us human. What is our purpose? What's your goal? Is your goal to raise children and have enough to eat? Or if your goal more noble, if your goal only to relate to people who your co-religionists, or the same color of the skin, or the same political belief, you believe only in this, or is your goal more than that, to reach out to people who have a different color of the skin, who have different political system and religious beliefs, and yet they're also humans. They have the same spark of God in you as Adam and Eve did, and therefore reach out to them, embrace them, shake their hands, and have a cup of coffee together. Have a great day.